Greetings! I am Herbert Erpaderp, and today is the day of the asking of the Herbert Erpaderp, the first of 2018. I hope everyone had an excellent and safe New Year's Eve. I celebrated by going to see Star Wars and eating Japanese food and gelato with one of the most excellent people I know, and it was a really good night. And I'm glad that the year is finally over. Hopefully 2018 is much less of a dumpster fire than 2017 was for so many of us. I don't really go for making New Year's resolutions, but I decided a while ago that this is going to be the year of painting. I think I spoke about it briefly on a stream. I'm not going to be doing a painting video every week of the year, that's a crazy goal and not one that I could realistically achieve, but I'm aiming to make a painting video once a month at least. It's not a promise because I can't predict the future, you never know what's going to happen, but I think it's a realistic goal and I'm going to work hard to achieve it. I did intend to actually have the first video of the year be a painting one, but it just hasn't worked out that way, but the plan is still on track. In other news, at the end of last year I became an affiliate on Twitch, which is pretty cool if you ask me. It's not quite partner, that's a long-term goal, but I'm still pretty happy about it. What being an affiliate means is that I can now have subscribers, and people can cheer with bits. Also, I can have an emote. I haven't got one yet, I'm thinking my emote will be a KV2 turret. What do you think? I want it to look better than my efforts on Discord, so I'm going to have to find somebody who can do a better job at making tiny images than I can, but I have a couple of people in mind and I'll get that done soon. So that's kind of exciting, at least for me. I have been streaming a bit more lately. I feel like people like World of Tanks the most, but in the interest of variety and just because I wanted to, I started a playthrough of Fallout 4 the other day, with my excellent and very attractive character, Fart Stingleson. So if that interests you, keep an eye out for notifications of when I go live. The video in the background is probably 7 Days to Die, and you may see that on stream at some point too. Certainly a video or two of it will be coming. Barnaby and I have been enjoying it quite a lot. Enough rambling for now, I shall now answer some questions. On Discord, Chopbunk Dalek or Top Bunk Productions said, "Do you have any pets? And what's your opinion on pets? General Martok doesn't count. He ain't no one's pet." That's right, General Martok is his own man, Klingon? I do have a handful of mice and they're delightful. I really like them. I just enjoy watching them eat and run around and do mouse things. Unfortunately, I don't have any other pets, but there are a lot of animals that I would love to have. Things like lizards, turtles, guinea pigs, various birds and other fish. I'd love to have an axolotl. They need cold water though, and I would imagine a chiller would be kind of expensive, and it would be hard to keep cold in the space that I have. It gets really hot here. I'd also like a bearded dragon. They deal with the heat pretty well, but they need space. Most of the animals I want need a reasonably big space to live, and as much as I would enjoy having them, and I would care for them a lot, it would be cruel to keep them in tiny spaces for my own enjoyment. So I just have to settle for seeing them elsewhere and enjoying them that way. I really enjoy going to some local pet shops with my friend and looking at the critters they have there. Zeljacko said, "I got an airbrush for Christmas and was wondering if you could make a video showing the basics for it. How and how not to use it, where to use it, etc. Sure, I will make some more quick tips videos on the subject. But as Ratto said, it'll take me some time to get around to actually making those videos, but it's a really good idea. Also, the hints Ratto gave are pretty good. You definitely want to learn how to take the airbrush apart, familiarise yourself with its parts and how they go together. You'll need to know that to give it a good proper cleaning, and if something goes wrong while you're painting, it can be really helpful to be able to pull it apart without fumbling and taking the time to figure that out. It's best to know how it comes apart in advance. And definitely be gentle with the needles and nozzle bits. If you bend the tip, you'll have a bad time. Over-tightening parts is definitely a bad idea too. Starting with water is a good idea. Maybe add some food colouring or dye to the water. Something thin that won't inadvertently clog the airbrush, but something that will allow you to see where you've been spraying. It's not a bad idea to spray it at some cardboard or paper just to get an idea of how it handles. I would then start on other simple things. If you're worried about destroying a model, spray some scrap or a bottle or something with some primer, and then try spraying some patterns on that or something, or even just trying to get a nice smooth coat. Practice spraying side to side and keeping the lines as straight as you can. It's good to be able to do that. That's pretty much basic airbrush use. Priming, base colours, clear coats. It's really just a matter of keeping the brush moving and applying a nice smooth coat. You might want to try practicing on a model, and if you've got an old model that's complete garbage that you don't mind ruining, you could try practicing on that. A lot of people have something like that. For example, my Bismarck hull that I use for experimenting. You could try things like spraying fine lines along edges and details, or maybe try some masking or spraying from light to dark and creating blends and things like that. I don't think I'm doing a very good job of explaining that. Having some visuals and maybe some more time to think about what I'm saying would be a good idea. You definitely want to thin your paint. I would recommend making it a little bit thinner than you think you might need it at first. I always hear thin your paints to the consistency of skim milk, but I've never really found that helpful. I did the quick tips video on thinning paint, so maybe that's helpful. If you're concerned about the thickness of your paint and how it might clog the brush, I would definitely err on the side of thinner paint when you're starting and practicing. It means you'll have less chance to clog the airbrush up, which is never fun. But it's probably something you're going to have to deal with, so be prepared for it. The trick is to not let your paint dry inside the brush. Sometimes it is enough to just blast a lot of air out of the brush to clear a clog, but sometimes you'll have to dump out all of your paint and pull the brush apart and clean it properly. It's a pain in the ass, but it can be avoided to some degree. Just don't put too much paint in the cup at one time and make sure the paint is adequately thinned. You'll get the hang of it eventually. Like pretty much everything, it's practice that makes you better at things, so practice. Be careful, but don't be afraid to experiment and try things. Airbrushes are a really useful and handy tool to have, so I hope you enjoy it. Hopefully that's helpful in some way. It was a bit rambly. There's so much about airbrushing that I just take for granted that I just don't think about. And that makes it kind of hard to think about what aspects would make for good videos. So if anyone has any specific questions about airbrushing, let me know. I'll try to answer them. And I'll start working on some relevant quick tips videos soon. James Valentine said, "The big question is, will you ever paint an orange stug to go with your video?" I'm assuming you mean the orange stug that I have in War Thunder, and yes, I've been planning to do that for a while now. I do rather enjoy painting silly non-realistic tanks, in case you didn't know. I don't actually have any models of a stug to paint though. I do have one that's already painted, but that's not a sensible orange one. I still need to decide which model to actually get and paint orange. 15mm or 28mm. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I think I might get the Warlord Stug. That's probably what I'll end up doing. Then I can field an army with a pink panther, an orange Stug, and maybe a tiger-striped tiger. Models are serious business. Emil Builds SE said, "I think you should build a B-17. I was actually looking at a B-17 kit in the hobby shop the day I bought the Zvezda Sturm Tiger. I think it was 1/32 scale, so it was pretty big. Also, it was expensive, so I didn't buy it. But I would like a model of a B-17. Does anybody have any recommendations of a good kit of that plane? Let me know in the comment section below." Okay, so I think that'll do it for this week. Before I go, I would like to say a big welcome to our newest patron, the British Modeler. Thank you very much for your support, it means a great deal to me, and you can expect to see a very sensible thank you card in the mail sometime soon. It was the most entertaining card that I could find. Thanks a lot. If you want to be awesome like the British Modeler, you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/Herbert Erpaderp and becoming a patron. There aren't any cookies, but we do have other stuff. As always, if you have any comments or questions you would like me to answer on next week's Ask a Herbert Erpaderp, leave them in the comment section below. And of course, if you haven't done so already, feel free to subscribe to me here on YouTube, follow me on social media, and watch me live stream on Twitch. Links to all of those things are in the description below. I shall return soon, so until then, happy whatever it is you are doing, and thanks for watching. Farewell.